Come in, if you dare. Welcome to a world of the fantastic and the macabre. Welcome to Ghost Stories YYC. Prepare yourself for a tale of terror. Written by Amy Gaulin, with art by Amy Gaulin. Fair Silver Air. After miles of quietly drifting through dry fields, a tumbleweed came to a stop when it bumped against the fence surrounding a farmhouse. Inside that house sat Ma and Pop, with their young daughter at the dining table. The little girl, whose name was Girl, poked at the raisins stuck in her peanut-buttered celery, while her other hand pet the fuzzy pony purse that rested on her hip. In the purse's main compartment was a plastic princess crown, and tucked in its discreet inside pocket was a $10 bill. It was a present from her grandmama May, who before heading out the door earlier that day had given it to Girl with a promise of taking her to the not-so-near town of There Nor Here, where a traveling fair would arrive in 2 weeks' time. Grandmama May had made the local 5 o'clock news 5 days after visiting the farm, when she choked on a cough drop during the opening scene of Ghost, playing at the There Nor Here theater, and died. Over the following days, Girl kept to herself in her bedroom. She spent a lot of time visualizing the little home in her lungs where Grandmama May's spirit had lived, that now refused to fill with air. From her pile of pony pillows on the floor, Girl looked up when a head peeked into the bedroom door. Pop stepped into view to announce, "It's Fair Day, Button, and it wouldn't be fair if we didn't go, now would it?" Upon arriving at the fair, the sounds of the dings and the bings and the boings from the games cheered her ears. The twirling and whirling of the teacup ride revived her tummy's butterflies. Her hands delighted as her fingers lingered through a pony's velvet fur. A pair of wings was painted on her face, but the still sad corners of her mouth pulled the wings down and made them droop. Ma and Pop were determined to brighten Girl's spirits, and therefore were busy handing all their change to the mangy teen tacking new balloons on the pegboard behind him. They didn't notice the voice from the patterned curtain booth calling, "You there, with the crown, come, little one. I will take away that frown. I can see it weighs a ton." Ma and Pop debated dart-throwing tactics while Girl stepped into the booth. Girl climbed onto a box to reach the chair that sat facing a fantastically tall woman. "It'll cost you nearly nil, plus a $10 bill." Girl reached into the secret pocket in her purse and handed her payment to the woman covered in metal dingly dangles, whose arms chimed with bangles. She swiftly slipped the bill up her sleeve, then swished her hands through the air to stir up the dense patchouli fog. Through the swirls of smoke she muttered gobbledygook that wobbled the girl's frown. The woman proceeded, "Your sweet gran told me she has not yet gone, as she made for you a promise, and to break it would be wrong. What I must do now is tricky, but for you I will try, to fit her in the vessel she agreed to occupy." The woman swooped behind hanging scarves, and after a series of squeaky, wheezy noises, she emerged again with a big belly that hadn't been there before. The woman yanked at the ribbon dangling out of her shirt, and out popped a shimmering silver balloon that she handed to Girl. "Now, little one, listen. Be gentle with your gran, for what you hold now is her soul in your hand. Share with her your day, but when the moon's in your eye, release her from your grip and let her float to the sky." A genuine smile on Girl's face brought the painted wings to life. She thanked the tall woman and returned to Ma's side, who was proudly accepting a blow-up hammer. In a victorious tone, Ma exclaimed, "I now have the power to bop Pop on the noggin," as the hammer squashed atop his head. A giggle came from Girl below. Pleased and relieved with her solution for cheer, Ma joined in laughter. Pop questioned the source of the balloon, and Girl turned to point towards the clown bouncing around with his hat upside down. The clown pulled a green scarf out of his nose in acknowledgement of their stares. The rest of the day was laughed away as the 3 plus Grandmama May played at the fair. It wasn't until 3 days later when the space in Girl's lungs began to empty again. In the doll cradle next to Girl's bed lay the balloon wrapped in her baby quilt. There was still a whole cookie beside Grandmama May's shrinking vessel. The water bowl hadn't lost a drop. Wrinkles were rapidly taking over the balloon's once smooth skin, and the silver was losing its luster. Girl knew it was time to let go. Once outside in the prickly yellow grass, Girl closed her eyes, counted down from 5, then stretched her fingers out wide to let the ribbon slip away. After a moment she opened her eyes to find nothing in the sky. Grandmama May was quietly drifting along the parched ground, following the lead of the tumbleweeds. Girl ran to the balloon, lifted it high, and let go. It brushed her face on its way back down. She bumped it, then tossed it, then threw it as high as she could. But it remained earthbound. Deflated, Girl shuffled back into the house with the balloon and promptly stuffed it into a Tinker Toy box. She used an entire roll of tape to seal it before stuffing it into her hiding spot. For quite some time, spurts of panic and guilt flushed over Girl when she thought of Grandmama May, withering away. But she kept doing her best to push those thoughts out of her mind. 33 haircuts, 2 failed young loves, and 12 years went by before Girl reached behind her desk. She was packing to move not so far away, and clearing out the only bedroom she ever had. A flood of terrible goo oozed down her spine when her hands grabbed the box. She cut into the tape with a steak knife, and when the top flap opened, her eyes rested on a blackened rubber sack. Without a second thought, she made a slice. Expecting a putrid stench or the back of Grandmama May's hand to whack her on the head, she curled in a ball with her eyes shut tight. When nothing happened, she looked back to the balloon and saw only specks of glitter and a tiny piece of paper inside. Girl picked up the paper and read, "The desire to hold tighter to your loved one lost may help you, little one, but for her there is a cost. If your hand remains tethered to her soul of silver air, forever Gran will linger neither here nor there. Beware."